Welcome to Stitchery Stories, where textile artists share their life in fabric and thread, inspiration, techniques, disasters and delights. And I'm Susan Reeks, enthusiastic embroiderer and textile art dabbler who also loves podcasting. So take a break and enjoy our light-hearted chat, and please share with your friends so they can enjoy it too. Hello and welcome to our lovely guest today, Jane White from Jane White Tuition.
Hello.
Jane has always been passionate about fashion and can't remember a time when she didn't sew. However, her fire for dressmaking was ignited when, aged just 9 years old, with the arrival of great Auntie Margaret's Singer hand sewing machine into her life. Jane made her first ever garment. It was a nightie in blue seersucker with pink rosebuds with French seams. It was so big she could have pegged it out as a tent, but Jane was so proud of it and wore it until it dropped to pieces. That noisy, temperamental, but nonetheless wonderful contraption got her started, and she has been hooked ever since. Qualified at degree level with City and Guilds, a couture dressmaker by trade, a qualified teacher by profession, Jane enjoys teaching sewing, dressmaking, design and pattern cutting to sewers of all ages, experience and skill levels at her wonderful studio at the Rope Walk in Barton-upon-Humber. With a particular focus on practical skills, Jane's own brand of inclusive and supportive tuition has launched as many wardrobe revamps as it has professional sewing careers. So there we are, Jane. That's a little bio of you. And may I just say, first of all, that obviously the main focus of this podcast is Stitchery Stories, where I was talking with textile artists about their life in fabric and thread. But as a couture dressmaker and teacher, obviously your life is very involved with fabric and threads as too. So I know a lot of people who are involved in textile art and embroidery also love to do dressmaking. So very much a big welcome, Jane, today.
Thank you.
Now, before we get started with your Stitchery story, would you like to share with us what you are working on at the moment? You know, what's got you excited?
Well, at the moment, I'm kind of hitting the wedding season. So I'm going to a friend's son's wedding week on Saturday. So I'm making myself a dress. I went down to Goldhawk Road in London with some of the other ladies who come sewing. I've got myself some amazing green taffeta and brocade, and I'm making a Zandra Rhodes design from the Vogue book.
Is that, I've seen that little pictures of that on Instagram, I think it was.
Yes,
that would have been it. I was wondering what you were making. That looks fantastic. There's that material, Jane. And where did you go? Somewhere in London?
Goldhawk Road in London. We're kind of like a trip out fabric buying, looking for things that are different. I'm really inspired by the fabrics.
Oh, I bet that's lovely.
So I've got to get that done for a week on Saturday.
Right.
And then,
and how are you getting on with it?
I've just got the hem and the collar left to do and a little jacket to make. So I'm on track.
Fantastic.
I just like something different, and it's nice to make something for an event. And it's friends that I've known 30 years. So kind of all our children are getting married now. So we had a wedding last year, so I made something for that.
Yes.
Just something a bit different. It's been really lovely because the girls, we've all been together down at the studio making miles of bunting to decorate the village hall. So it's been a really lovely project. And then got lots of the ladies are kind of doing outfits that come sewing, are doing outfits for the wedding season. So it's just nice to do something that you can get dressed up.
Absolutely. That's the one thing. For as much as I like to do, my textile art and my embroidery for many, many years, I've also done a lot of dressmaking. And that was the one thing that I really used to like doing, was making things for events. Outfits for weddings. I also made my own wedding dress, and I've made about another 4 other wedding dresses for sister-in-laws and friends. So it's just lovely, isn't it, to put all that time and effort into making something that is totally just for yourself, with something that you've picked. There's no compromise involved. It's just exactly what you want. So I absolutely love doing that.
Yeah.
Sadly, I haven't done much dressmaking for a while, so I'll have to get myself down to your studio, won't I?
You certainly will. Find all the fun.
I know, I'm missing out. Okay, so that's absolutely fantastic. In your bio there, you just explained that it was Great Auntie Margaret's sewing machine that got you interested in dressmaking. So from that early start, who taught you, and what sort of things did you start to make after your the highlight of the nightie?
Well, I think I've always been really lucky. I actually lived in Essex until I was nearly 9, and we did a lot of practical things at school down there. And Mum's got a needle case that I made and embroidered, and I know to be about 6.
Right.
And then, although she didn't do a lot of sewing, she was quite happy for me to like smother the house with pins and needles and bits of fabric.
I know when I think about, I was the same, always sewing things, and you don't really care, do you, when you're 9 about things? And I hate to think how many of me and my brothers and dogs and things have all stood on pins because it's just a disaster, isn't it, when you think?
Yeah. When I went to junior school in Hull, and I had a most fantastic lady called Mrs. Sparrow, and we just did a lot of sewing. She's the one that kind of got me started with the nightie. So kind of always had that background, but it wasn't until I got to high school and I had the most wonderful teacher called Mrs. Tong, Shirley Tong. And she was a couture dressmaker by training as well.
Right.
We did the most amazing things. We just used to sew and sew and sew. I can't say we did a lot of paperwork, but we did an awful lot of sewing. I mean, I made a revered suit for my O-level, for my old A-level. I made an Yves Saint Laurent suit.
Wow.
And she was so inspiring, really passionate about skills. I mean, lots of the things I teach now have come directly from Mrs. Tong. And at my open day last year, I actually tracked her down. I mean, she's in her 80s now, and she actually lives 4 miles from me, would you believe?
Brilliant.
And I hadn't seen her since 1979, and she came to my open day, and it was just so emotional. Firstly, that she remembered who I was.
Yes, wow.
And that secondly, that I could say to her, look, you inspired me down this route, because it's what I've always wanted to do. But yeah, really lucky, because I get some ladies who've retired who come sewing, and they've had such awful experiences at school with these sewing teachers that were just dragons, basically. So I was so lucky. And Great Auntie Margaret's sewing machine is a bit of a laugh, really, because Great Auntie Margaret was an absolute feminist in the 30s. There's no way she would have done lots of sewing. She was a motorbike riding, PE teaching woman before her time, really.
Yes.
So, kind of really grateful to her that it came after she died. She kind of left my sister and I in her will. So
right.
There is a piece on the website all about Great Auntie Margaret, because she was as great in size as she was a great aunt.
Yeah. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And how nice that those people, those teachers that you were lucky enough to have while you were at school have really set you off on this path.
Yeah.
I didn't do dressmaking. I did the art and design qualification at O-levels, but you could do it in paper and paint or textiles. So I did the textile arts and design. So I did all sorts of weird and wacky things, but there was some dressmaking involved. I think there was part of it we did. So I remember making some dungarees. They were all the rage, and some trousers and something else. Can't remember. And then I think we were supposed to do some knitting. I think I knit a baby cardigan because that was like the smallest thing you could get away with doing, wasn't it? But but I'm appalling at knitting, really. But yeah, I do remember that it was real fun to do that qualification, but it certainly wasn't dressmaking. It was making weird and wonderful things. I even made a tie-dye jellyfish of all things. Don't ask. That's amazing. And was anybody in your family? Obviously you got your grandaunt's sewing machine, but was anybody else in your family interested in sewing, or was it purely through school? I had another aunt who used to do a bit of sewing, but nobody really did dressmaking. No.
Mum would occasionally have a go at making something. My dad would buy her all the stuff, she'd make it and then go, well, I'm not wearing it. But she was very encouraging, I have to say that.
Yeah, brilliant.
I had grandmas who knitted. My dad's mum, who was a Scottish lady from Fraserburgh, she could knit the family fair owls without a pattern. She was a really impressive knitter. But I think I was the only one that was interested in sewing.
In the sewing, yeah.
And I don't really know where that came from, other than just being let loose, really.
Yeah. Fantastic. So obviously we've had the major inspirations in terms of your teachers. Are there any major inspirations for your career as you've gone along in terms of maybe designers or styles or anything like that you could share with us, Jane?
Yeah, I mean, for my degree level City and Guilds, there was a huge research project into the history of 20th century fashion and designers. And my real inspiration for design is Yves Saint Laurent. And I went off to the Beaux Museum, it was last year or the year before.
Yes, because I just missed that, of course.
It absolutely blew me away. It was one of the best exhibitions I've ever been to. And the fact that you could get so close to the clothes, they were in glass cabinets.
Oh, I'm crying now.
It was absolutely inspirational, and his like style, although a lot of it's quite plain, you know, it's kind of the things that he generated.
Elegant, isn't it?
Yeah,
beautifully done.
Women didn't really wear trouser suits until we got Yves Saint Laurent. But the thing that really, really attracted me was his toiles, which are calico mock-ups of the garments, and how he made those. And that actually changed how I taught my City and Guild students in a completely different way. So as a tutor and an artist, you have to keep looking at what other people are doing to kind of move on with your own skills.
Yes, and I think there's always inspiration wherever you look as well, isn't there? And I think that's the main thing I always look to is there's always something to learn, always. Yeah. I think that's fantastic that you've learned from that exhibition as well. It's just amazing. So
I do try and get to at least one or two exhibitions every year. And they're not necessarily obviously not dressmaking. They might be fashion, but there might be art as well, because fashion is the design side of it. So I went to Marion Clayton at the Textiles Museum with a friend, and anything to do with colour, anything that's going to inspire your own work, and it's about your enthusiasm passing on to your students as well. You know, they pick up on that enthusiasm.
And is there any other current inspirations that you have on the go at the moment?
I'm very much exploring kind of silhouette and shape in fashion. This is part of this Sandra Rhodes dress. It's to do with the silhouette. I don't get to do as much pattern cutting as I once did because classes are very busy, but I'm kind of trying to experiment with more styles. I'm very inspired by the shape of the outside of garments and how fabric falls. So I want to do a bit more about that. I've got some really interesting shapes I want to explore. There's always something that you kind of want to scratch the surface of, and then you get more involved with it, don't you?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll be seeing you modelling some of your creations. Will we then?
I tend to go for something a bit unusual, I suppose.
Well, I really like the clothes that they make and wear, because obviously I see with our various little networking groups and so on. So it's always lovely to see somebody actually wearing something different. Says me, who lives in running leggings and fleece tops. I'm just a disaster.
Oh, sometimes turn up for the networking, and it's called the Mad Dress, because it was based on one of the new young Japanese designers that were working with Vogue patterns, and it was the most uninspiring dress on the front of the pattern, to be fair, in this horrible grey fabric. But I could just see I had lots of possibilities.
Right.
So I take the pattern into the ladies at the class and go, I'm going to make this, and they kind of look at me and roll their eyes.
Really?
I felt really mad. So it's been christened the Mad Dress.
Mad Dress.
But we've now got about 20 versions of it, and they love it.
Fantastic. Well, there you are. You see, but you've put that inspiration and personal touch to that, as you said, something that on the packet looked very uninspiring. If you've kind of inspired people now to make 20 versions of it, and you've had various versions of it, that says a lot about your skill in your craft. So well done.
Part of the thing of being a teacher is giving people a nudge.
It is.
A little nudge out the comfort zone now and again isn't a bad thing.
Exactly, without being a dragon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't want to be doing dragons, do we?
No.
Fabulous. So kind of moving on from the inspiration to the technicality of couture dressmaking, what are your favourite techniques? Is that a question to ask somebody about couture?
I mean, I've got a friend, and her favourite techniques are bridal wear. And although I've done bridal wear, it's not the thing that particularly grabs me. I love the tailoring side of it.
Yes.
I love the inner construction. I love the materials. It's not just the outer material, it's what goes on behind that. Good quality dressmaking is all about the supporting layers, and it's the inside of the garment that makes the quality of the outside. And so it's using, maybe some hand stitching or some unusual interfacings, canvases, tapes. It can be all sorts of different things to support the outer layer. And tailoring is very much this thing about sculpture. I think that's kind of where I come from, is this sculptural element to dressmaking and tailoring, where you're kind of making the fabric do something. It's not just kind of hanging there, forcing it into a shape. And there's lots of like little really, as an embroiderer, you'll understand this, lots of really delicate little hand stitches that go inside that are crucial to how things fall or sit.
Absolutely, yes. And that's one thing that I was particularly doing the wedding dresses more than anything else. I kind of really got into the tailoring idea as well. It's the same thing. It was the structure of how you built it, which is determined how it's going to look.
Yeah.
Obviously, the quality of the fabric is another thing, but it's all those interfacings and techniques, definitely, and it's worth spending the time to learn those. And I certainly saw really big changes in the work I was doing once I really made an effort to learn some of those couture techniques.
Yeah.
I really kind of enjoyed doing those.
Yeah. And I think what people don't, new dressmakers, what they don't realise is dressmaking is very, very methodical, and it's that key bank of skills that you start with. The starting point is the same, whatever you're making. The rest of it's a kind of added extras, like a pocket or a fancy sleeve. And I'm really passionate about getting students to do the basics really well and with understanding before they move on to something else, because that really affects the quality of the garment and an understanding of materials and an understanding of what you use inside garments come from.
Yeah, and what about fitting?
Oh, yeah. Right, yeah, because none of us are standard. I'm still seeking the mythical standard figure on the back of the pattern envelope. After kind of umpteen years, I've got one lady who is almost a standard size, but most people are individual. We all have different body shapes, different heights. The standard in the industry for petite is 5'4". Well, I'd have said that's quite an average.
5'4", crikey.
It's quite tall, isn't it, really? So, yeah, fitting is my other passion, and it's what can you do to get something to fit, because if it fits you, it doesn't matter what size or shape you are. If it fits you perfectly, you're going to look fabulous in it regardless.
It does. It looks fabulous. You feel absolutely fantastic in it as well. So
we always do mock-up garments first to check the fit, and so we're not wasting our best quality fabric. Sometimes you make a toile and you put it on and you don't actually like it. It's not your style. It doesn't fit you. It's not dress. The problem with dressmaking, it's not like going in a shop and picking something off the peg, trying it on and thinking, no, I don't like that. You don't want to be spending hours making something to think I don't like it at the end.
Exactly.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, I do scare the ladies quite a bit, because I'll come along with my scissors and I'll hack bits off and cut right across the front of something. And, and I think we do a lot about body shape. We do a lot of kind of design theory about what styles are going to suit different body shapes, how to identify it.
Right, so you just get it right from the start. Yes. Now, the other thing that when I was getting involved with looking at tailoring and so on, and particularly when I was making my own wedding dress, was I really got into this issue of fitting, and I found this fantastic book. I don't think I have it anymore, so I've moved house and got rid of stuff so many times, but it was all about fitting and how to identify what the fitting problem was in terms of how the fabric was hanging. If it was if you're getting vertical lines or horizontal lines, and that was like, wow, this just makes total sense. I absolutely loved that book. It made a massive difference.
Yeah, was it the Sandra Betzina one? That's the one I usually use with the ladies.
I can't remember, but it was really well written, very clear, and every possible thing that could be wrong with a sleeve was listed, or the different areas. It was just an excellent book. I loved that book.
And to be honest, if you're going to spend all those hours making something, and you do put a bit of heart and soul into it as well,
yes, totally.
But at the end, to be disappointed with the fit is such a shame.
It's awful, isn't it?
It's so demoralising. And quality of kind of processes and fit are the two key things for dressmaking.
Brilliant. So what would you say, Jane, has been the high point of your career in terms of your tuition and dressmaking. Have you got any particular high points that you would like to share with us?
I suppose I have. Every day is a high point.
Oh, brilliant!
My husband reckons I don't really go to work.
Well, do you know, that's the ultimate thing though, isn't it? That's what everybody aims for. If you can get to that point where you just love what you're doing so much, it doesn't even feel like work. You've absolutely cracked it. So.
I mean, it's the thrill of seeing a student, because I mean, I have everybody from people who are just like hobby sewists and come because they like the social aspect, they enjoy the sewing, right through to people who go on to do something else. So I had a lady came to do a bit of pattern cutting with me about 6 years ago, and she'd done a fashion degree at uni, but had ended up working in a completely different area, but wanted to get back to a fashion route. So she thought she'd brush up on her pattern cutting. We got chatting. And at the time, I was teaching sewing skills for the Northern College of Costume in York,
right,
via a friend, Pauline. And I showed us my pictures from previous years' work with the costume students. And it kind of all fell into place for her. That's what she wanted to do. She'd been seeking that one thing and she didn't know what it was.
Right.
So she brushed up her skills. She went on the Northern College of Costume course that summer. And now she's working in costume full time. She's worked on some amazing films. Some of my students have been working on Game of Thrones, all sorts of things. So there's like career highs for students and students who set up small businesses. Maybe even kind of just doing alterations and set up a small business.
Yes.
Purpose. But then there's students who might have come because they've had a crisis in their life and want to get out and about and meet people, and to see them develop and grow in confidence through something that is a friendly environment, a safe environment. So as a very generous, they're very welcoming. You know, it's a nice place to be, particularly say somebody moves into the area and they don't know anybody, you know, they can come along and meet new people. So
that's a really good point for anybody. You know, when you move somewhere else, go and find a craft club.
Absolutely.
You know, and I've personally done that myself. Even when I came back from France and moved over to Hornsey, I didn't know anybody at all here. First thing I did, where's the local embroiderers guild? Oh, it's in Hull. Marvellous. Off I go. You know, number one thing, get the internet sorted out. Number two thing, right, I need to find myself a group.
Somebody did once put their head round our studio door. They were at a meeting somewhere else in the Roe Park. He poked his head around the door and he said, "You have far too much fun in here." That was really lovely.
That is excellent.
And making wise, I mean, I've done lots of commissions over the years, but the one that meant the most to me was, I kind of sent you a picture of it, is Rebecca's wedding dress. Rebecca is the daughter of a really good friend that I've known a long time, and she had a really serious car accident, and they were actually going to turn her life support system off. And we were all prepared for this awful event. I mean, she was only in her early 20s. It was absolutely awful time. And miraculously, she came back to life.
Wow.
She got married. She's expecting a third baby in August.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah.
So when she said she was getting married, I said to her, if she wanted me to, you know, it was up to her, that I would love to make her wedding dress for her. And that was such a special day. It was very, very moving, but very kind of a joyous day, and to think that I'd had part of it.
Yes.
To make this dress. And my friend Mel, her mum, had the dress on a dress stand in her bay window in her bedroom for about a year afterwards, just looking at it.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. And
just so
I will put the picture with the show notes. So how lovely, though, to have that story behind what that dress actually means to you as a highlight from on different levels. So that's wonderful, Jane. Thank you so much for sharing that, and you know, a nice happy ending.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, that's just fabulous. So moving on to maybe something that wasn't quite as fabulous as you thought. Do you have any story that you might want to share with us in terms of when something didn't go quite as planned and, well, frankly, was a bit of a disaster? And importantly, what did you learn from that experience?
Well, I mean, I think that's the joy of dressmaking. You just occasionally get the project, for whatever reason, you've tried your hardest, it just doesn't work. It's knowing that point to abandon it. But I did years ago, when I kind of first left school and I was still madly used to make everything. Yeah. I made myself this really lovely floral viscose dress. I thought, oh, well, that'd be nice for work. I was working in the court service at the time. I thought, a little shirt-waisted dress, that'll be fine for work. So I made it. Really pleased with it. Wore it a couple of times. Thought, oh, this is okay. And then what I hadn't realised was before you make anything with viscose, you have to wash it first. So I washed it.
Oh.
It shrank that much that it wouldn't fit me. But I'm like 5'4". My mum's like 4'10" on a good day.
Really?
It fitted Mum.
Oh, well, that was a nice benefit out of it.
So we we've all had the thing that we've snipped, but
yes,
we never have a disaster in the studio. Quite often things like that happen, but we call them a style feature.
That's a fantastic way of looking at it in a positive light. Brilliant. A style feature. I like that one.
And sometimes the style feature is actually more exciting than the initial design because you have to think it through. So when Debbie made a skirt using her daughter's skirt pattern instead of hers, and it was about 4 sizes too small, this fantastic bright orange pleat in the middle looked amazing. Yeah, I think it's all part of the learning process. You haven't got to get upset about it. You've got to kind of think, right, yeah, let's learn from that and move on and have a bit of a laugh about it.
Yeah, as you say, and invariably, I think when you do try to then improve something, I think, well, what have I done here? Maybe, as you say, you can often come out with something far better than what you'd ever intended. So I think the thing for people to pick up out of that one is definitely just probably put it down for a while and think about it. Go away, go and do something else, and come back to it, and then you'll have usually a fabulous idea. And again, if you're in a group environment, somebody's comments can spark off the most fantastic ideas, can't it, Jane?
Oh, absolutely. We're very democratic. We do have little group meetings about things and make decisions. And as you say, some of the ladies come up with the most amazing ideas that I would have never have thought of, they come at it at a different angle. So, there's no such things as disasters.
Good. That's what I like to hear. So, relating to that subject, what about, I know in textile art worlds, we're all terrible about starting things, and sometimes things are doomed never to be finished. So those dreaded UFOs, unfinished objects. Do you have anything similar in dressmaking, or do you find that you can usually adapt it to something else so it is going to get finished and worn?
Well, we do have our box of shame days.
Box of shame, I like that. That's like our embroidery UFO days. Bring your UFOs, box of shame. I like that.
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't got anything in my box of shame dressmaking, but I feel really bad confessing this. I have an embroidery UFO.
The subject just attracts UFOs.
I went on a course a couple of years ago with the most fantastic lady, and it was like wacky birds, kind of embroidering these wacky birds. And my bird is extremely wacky, but the more I did with it, the more wacky it got. And in the end, it's kind of at that stage where I need to maybe do 1 or 2 more things to it, but I'm not quite sure what. So it's in the pondering stage. I will hopefully finish it because I do actually really like it, and it's nice to do something a bit different sometimes. But
well, that sounds really. I'm quite intrigued by your wacky bird. Actually.
I'll bring it and show you it next time.
Please do. Yeah, I'd really like to see that. So, okay, well, that's good. So, even the wacky bird, there may be some scope there for actually getting it finished off. Yeah,
I think maybe I'll set a deadline of Christmas.
Yes. Right, I shall be hassling you at Christmas then. Where's this wacky bird?
Yeah.
Obviously, we always have lots of projects on the go, and you've got your lovely brocade wedding outfit on the go. So there is a saying about beware of long-distant elephants. So those items that seem so far away when you first agree to doing them, but they slowly creep up on you, and suddenly they're looming large, you have a deadline. So how do you manage to keep your longer-term projects on the go and keep yourself organised, but keep that kind of creativity going with it as well?
I must admit, kind of running a business, that's the bit I had found really difficult, but it's like finding your own way through it. So I am a bit of a planner. I am a bit of a list writer. I do have a PA who helps me as well, because I realised I couldn't carry on doing everything on my own.
Right, yes.
I've got a big deadline coming up because I'm actually doing 4 workshops at the Great British Sewing Bee Live in London in September.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So really looking forward to that, but it's a lot of planning, but I need to start now, really.
Yes.
I find I'm better if I chip away at things.
Yes.
And do that. And I've got some stuff that I'm doing for myself for the business that I want to get get out there kind of at a similar time as well. So I'm trying to work on that. It is quite difficult when you spend so many hours in the classroom teaching to find the time outside the classroom, but that's kind of a balance I'm getting better at.
Yes, and I think that's very true. I find the same. I think every person who provides some kind of service, we all struggle with the same issue. It's the plumbers with the leaking taps, the people who sell shoes with holes in theirs, and me with online marketing. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. I haven't got mine organised, and obviously with you, it's your projects to move your business forward. So I was just quite interested because I've noticed, although I am quite a creative person in terms of my embroidery and that kind of thing, the other side of me is the Mrs. Computer planning of obsessed with plans and projects, and so it's always quite nice to speak to other creative people to find out how they manage, because quite a lot of my kind of very creative friends just roll their eyes and tut when I start mentioning projects. So that's why I put this question. I thought, I'm going to find out from people. So I'm very very happy to hear how you manage yours, and obviously that you've seen with in terms of your business, other things that you need to do, like getting some help. That's a major step forward, isn't it, Jane? So.
And I think it's really important because with a business, you can get very bogged down in the running of the business and the emails and getting your website up to date. But as somebody who works in a craft and a creative industry, you have to keep your own creative juices flowing, and you've got to have projects on the go and planning out projects. So I have things that I want to make patterns for and cut. And I know I most probably won't get them done in the next kind of even 2 or 3 months, but they're on my radar, working towards them in my kind of personal time.
Yes.
Because it's that balance of kind of keeping your skills modern and up to date, looking, particularly for dressmaking, I'm trying really hard to get away from this kind of, I think dressmaking is such an old-fashioned word. I don't know what else you would call it though.
It's like embroidery, it's the same kind of thing. People have got this old biddies idea about it, and dressmaking, you've made some kind of shoddy looking skirt, and it's like it's not like that at all, is it? And
it's that kind of creative fashion edge, but in a way that doesn't scare people off and is achievable. So I buy lots of kind of fashion magazines. I'm always looking at current trends, looking at what apparently we're supposed to be wearing pink this season.
Oh, lovely! I love pink.
You like pink, don't you?
Yes.
So
it's not your colour, is it? Though I don't think, Jane.
No. Actually, I'm more like the oranges. But,
so
I
like them. They look horrible on me though.
It's that kind of thing. Don't get bogged down with the kind of business stuff all the time. You've got to kind of release yourself as well and still be creative as well, if you can.
So you've mentioned your workshop. So just tell us a bit more about that, because I'm sure everyone will be absolutely fascinated to find out about that from you, Jane.
Yeah. Well, down at the studio at Barton, we have workshops that keep going throughout the year. So we have very informal sewing bee workshops where people just come along and do their own projects. So just a really flexible way of doing the learning. We have set courses.
Yes.
So Friday I've got a pattern cutting day. So there's things like that throughout the year. And then it's a spin-off from the Great British Sewing Bee TV programme.
Yes.
Which is still a lot of debate of whether it's going to happen again or not. Somebody says it isn't, and then somebody else says it is. But it's a Great British Sewing Bee live. It's a knitting and stitching show, but with a dressmaking orientation to it, because a lot of the shows there isn't a lot of dressmaking there.
No, it's hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah, very much so. So it's got a lot of the celebs from the Sewing Bee are doing workshops. Patrick Grant's going to be there. Esme Young's going to be there. There's lots and lots of workshops you can book for over the 4 days. It's Thursday to Sunday. There's going to be retailers there. There's going to be make-it studios.
Yeah,
all sorts of things. A real buzz. I think they're just getting going with it. They're just starting doing the social media advertising, that type of thing.
And can you share with us, Jane, what your workshops are, or is it top secret still?
Oh no, I'm doing 3 overlocking workshops.
Right.
And I'm doing the inner secrets of the Chanel jacket.
Ooh.
So,
that sounds a good one. Which back to your kind of passion and interest of the structure and also the style, Yeah. Wow.
That kind of, the inside should be as beautiful as the outside, but often a lot of the detail is actually on the inside and you can't see it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. I do an awful lot of Overlocker tuition.
Yes.
I love my Chanel jacket courses. So I'm doing the Friday and the Saturday 4 workshops spread over the 2 days. So I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to kind of give dressmaking that modern look. It's going to get a lot of people talking about it. It's nice to have something that's dressmaking dedicated. It's still very niche dressmaking, believe it or not. It's there's a lot more craft out there than there is dressmaking classes.
Yes, I would say so. Just looking around, say I'm interested in that kind of area as well. I think one of the things I've often struggled with is finding some decent material.
Yes,
you know, you can find patterns fairly straightforward, but the nice material to bother to make the item can be a real hassle.
Yeah, I mean, we go off to places in West Yorkshire. We go down to Guildhall Road in London. We're going to try Walthamstow, and there's a really fantastic shop called Rosenberg's not far from Walthamstow.
Right.
Later in the summer. And then I have a wholesaler who comes to see me from Leeds, nicknamed the man with the van.
The man with the van, yes.
It's actually in an estate car, but it doesn't sound good. I just ring him up, and he has a lot of like design room sampling, end of rolls from the top end producers.
Yes. That's perfect.
Unusual fabrics. So we took him by storm last time he came. But that is the really tricky thing with dressmaking. And you can buy online, and I actually use eBay quite a lot. There's some really good suppliers on there, but because you can't feel the fabric, you've got to know what you're looking for.
Yes, exactly.
So, and it's that kind of match of fabric to pattern that's really crucial with dressmaking. So,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's interesting to know about the fabric as well then.
Yeah.
So is there any other kind of future plans that you've got penciled in, Jane, that you'd like to share with us as we kind of come to the end of our time this morning?
Yeah, I've got a big plan for later in the year. I've been actually working on it a couple of years. This is one of my elephants, I suppose. And I'm trying to meet the needs for learners who would love to come to classes or have been to a class but don't live near me, because I get a lot of students who come from all over the country, Perth in Scotland, down on the south coast.
Wow.
And it's an internet-based project where they can access resources and me online.
Oh, that sounds obvious. Now you see, that's talking to my heart, isn't it? Because I'm Mrs. Online person as well. So that'll be interesting to chat with you about that anyway, Jane. So.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't particularly want to go the online tutorials that route, because there's lots of people doing this. This is something completely different.
Oh, sounds very intriguing.
About it.
Right. So obviously, that case then, everybody needs to keep following Jane, because this sounds extremely interesting, that we'll be able to access Jane's skills and inspiration in a different way.
Yeah.
There we are. So moving forward then, Jane, thank you so much for sharing your stitchery story. It's still all to do with stitching, and it has been a very fascinating story. So it's been lovely to find out more about you and the enthusiasm and passion that you bring to your classes and the projects that your students create, and also the wonderful clothes that you create for yourself as well. So on this episode, there will be some featured photographs of your work, including the wedding dress that you were telling us the story about. But where else can we see your examples of your work? And moving on from that, how can people get in touch with you, Jane, to find out more and maybe attend a class?
Yeah, I've got a website which is www.janewhitetuition.co.uk. You can find me on there. Sign up for my newsletter. I'll keep you up to date with what's going on with classes, what the ladies and the students are doing, exhibitions that are coming up, and all sorts of sewing and fashion related news. I've got a really busy Facebook page. Facebook's Jane White Tuition. I've just started on Instagram. Again, that's Jane White Tuition. I'm really enjoying that, with it being so visual. And
yes.
They're the key areas to kind of see what's going on and kind of contact with me. Love to hear from people, find out what they're doing, sharing the projects as well.
That sounds absolutely great. So sign up for Jane's newsletter. I know that she puts a lot of effort into creating something that's very interesting, not just about sewing, as she said, with things there about exhibitions, fashion, trends, that kind of thing. So well worth signing up for. And then we'll find out also what this new intriguing online idea is going to be as well. So thank you so much for sharing your stitchery story with us today. And it's just been very, very interesting. Thank you so much, Jane.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. I've really enjoyed speaking to you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. If you liked this episode and want to hear more, then please join the Stitchery Stories fan club so you can get an email when a new episode is released. It's a quick and easy way of listening and of keeping up with any news and offers from our lovely guests. Please visit stitcherystories.com to join the fan club. Of course, if you have iTunes, then subscribe there to automatically get new episodes. And why not leave us a review and rating whilst you are there? So that is the end of our Stitchery story for today. So keep stitching, keep smiling, and keep creating your very own Stitchery stories.